Hi, Sai here from Music Radar. We are at Superbooth 2018. This is the IK Multimedia stand. That is the Uno Synth, their very first hardware synth. Eric, the brains. Cheers. One of the brains, because Enrico here is another brain. He's also the hands in this demo. We'll talk to you, and you can do the hand stuff. It's all going to be very well orchestrated, as you'll see. Eric, tell us a little bit about the kind of the decisions to kind of go into hardware. Where did this all start?
Well, the CEO of our company is another fellow named Enrico. We have a lot of Enricos, and we've been talking about making a synth, a hardware synth, for a long time. Obviously, we've made virtual synths for a while. We made Syntronic, and that's been an awesome product. But you know, I come from a hardware synth background. I was one of the designers on the Alesis Andromeda years ago, and it's, you know,
a very fine thing that is too.
Ah, thank you.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm really happy with that synth. So, you know, we wanted to do an analog synth because, as we know, there's nothing like a real analog synth. But it had to be a product that fit, you know, kind of the ethic of IK and the way IK works. IK is very much in the mobile space, and so at least as the first hardware synth entry, it had to be something that fit with the company profile. So we have this spectacularly low-cost, economical, portable, real analog synth. So it's $199, including tax in the UK. Yeah. So I think it's €199 excluding VAT on the continent, and $199 GBP with tax. All right, I think I've got it right.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about the actual synth. Yeah. If you're up for it. Okay. So it's a 2-oscillator, real analog synth. The audio path is completely analog. Okay. We start with 2 variable wave shape oscillators, and the wave shapes are continuous. So it's not just switching between like saw, square, tri. We can go from the triangle wave and then morph into the sawtooth wave continuously, and then the same thing from the sawtooth wave into the square wave. And then after the square wave, we have pulse width modulation. And the 2 oscillators are completely independent, so you can set one to be modulating between the triangle wave and the sawtooth wave, and the other one you could have doing pulse width modulation, or maybe just, you know, sitting on a square wave and all that. They are of course independently tunable, plus and minus 1 octave. And with our interface, we've done kind of a clever thing. So in the center of the knob travel, we have detuning. So it's plus and minus 100 cents. Yep. But then after that, it goes to intervals. So then that's 2 semitones, 3 semitones, etc., like that. So it's just keeping this interface really clean and easy to use. And our philosophy with the Uno Synth is we wanted to make the analog synth for everybody. So this is not just a synth that does, you know, vintage sounds from the 70s, and it's not just a synth that does, you know, crazy aggressive EDM sounds. It's a synth that, like, I think all the best synths, depending on how you voice it and how you approach it, can really be any synth you want. Okay, so this leads us to a very important part of the synth, the filter. So we mix our oscillators and our noise generator, white noise generator, together, and we go into our filter. Our filter is a 2-pole resonant multi-mode filter, sweepable of course. So we have, of course, low pass, high pass, and band pass with variable resonance. And, you know, at reasonable resonance settings with the low pass filter, you can get this to sound, you know, very much like a classic, vintage, traditional synthesizer. But then when, you know, you crank up the resonance a bit, and especially if you use, you know, the high pass or the band pass modes, and then you bring in some of our overdrive control, it really takes on a completely different character. And this is sort of almost like the time warp knob that moves us, you know, into the 21st century and into 2018 and beyond. So it's a custom overdrive circuit with a really cool curve on it. So at low settings, it's just, you know, kind of a nice warm saturation, but then the more you push it, the more aggressive it gets. And pretty soon, you know, you have this thing that sounds like, you know, it's a, you know, cutting edge Euro rack EDM synth. So you can transform quite a bit. Okay, so we have 2 envelopes. There's a dedicated filter envelope and a dedicated amplitude envelope. They're both 4-stage ADSR. But on the front panel, we only give you 2 stages per envelope. We give you the 2 stages that you use the most, basically to keep it simple and for ease of use. So for the filter, we have attack and decay. For amplitude, we have attack and release. If you want to get to the other 2 parameters, you can just use MIDI continuous controllers to get to those. And we also include a computer editor that IK makes.
It is all there under the hood.
Yes, exactly. Cool. And then, of course, we've got our LFO. So with 7 shapes, sine, triangle, sawtooth down, sawtooth up, square wave, random, sample and hold. Adjustable rate. So here we just have kind of a free running rate, but then once again when we get to the top of the range, now we go into note values that are tied to the tempo. So this is a whole note, half note, dotted quarter note, etc. Hi Gino, how are you? Good. Of course, LFO can be routed to pitch, filter, amplitude, of course, also to pulse width modulation, and of course to the wave shape. So now, below this we have 5 performance buttons, and these are meant for just instant articulations that you can press while the sequence is playing, or while the arpeggio is going, or just while you're playing it live. Okay, so vibrato is of course pitch modulation, wah is filter modulation, tremolo is amplitude modulation, and these are all tied to the rate of the LFO. Here. Okay, we have 2 other buttons called dive and scoop. These are pitch effects that were inspired by some of the 70s Japanese synths like the Yamaha CS80, the Roland SH5, and the Roland SH2, which we love. And they called them auto bend. So dive takes pitch and dives down to the note, scoop scoops up to the note. So if you have an arpeggiator or something going and you want to just scoop into a note and all that, the idea is just to bring some life and animation and interaction.
Nice quick control to get there as well.
Exactly. Yes.
Brilliant.
So there are 100 presets in the synth. Each preset has a sequence attached, and the sequence is 16 steps that you can program either step by step, like a classic TB303, something like that, or you can do it in real time. There's a metronome, and then you can actually play it in real time. Okay, that's cool, but we actually take it quite a bit further. You can record 20 synth parameters for every step.
Oh, wow.
Which means we can completely transform the preset from one thing. I mean, you could go from a synth bass to like a thunderclap, like between the first and second step. And in fact, I'm going to have Enrico do it. Enrico did a proof of concept where he programmed a drum pattern. So he starts off with a tonal kick, and then it goes to a snare, and then it goes to a tom. Check this out. Synth. Okay, so he's doing all this like transformation with just 2 oscillator, 1 voice synthesizer. So because it's an all analog signal path, we can do this like really fluid morphing. There's no like clicks or pops or zippering or stair stepping or anything like that, because it's just analog parameters that are being morphed in real time. So
sounds amazing.
So there's also an arpeggiator. There we go. The arpeggiator has 10 different modes. So there's the usual, let me do this upside down. Can I do it upside down? Yeah, okay. So, up, down. also have a scale keyboard. We took this concept from some of our iOS instruments. So by default, it's set to chromatic, so it's just a regular Western chromatic scale like you'd expect. But then we can actually quantize the keyboard to play specific scales. So you play only in a major key, only in a minor key, and then there's 12 other scales, which are like Dorian, Mixolydian, Phrygian, klezmer, Spanish Gypsy, Hungarian Gypsy.
Southeastern Asian.
Yes, Southeast Asian, yes, right. All these cool. Right. We couldn't write Southeast Asian in the display, so we just called it 3, but it'll be in the manual, of course. So that's pretty cool. And then you can pick the key you want to play in as well. So it'll limit the notes to only those notes in that scale, in that key. There's glide, portamento, of course, and we can change the octave of the keyboard here. Then we have a delay effect, so you can change the time and, of course, the mix of the delay. So thank you. And then we have our global parameters. So we have a metronome that we can turn on and off. Sync, if you wanted to slave to external sync from your DAW or from a drum machine or anything like that. If the Uno Synth is receiving MIDI clock, it will sync to that.
Okay.
MIDI, set the MIDI channel, of course, and then master tune. We also have an auto tune routine, so it does background tuning. We let it go out of tune enough that it sounds like an analog synth, but not so out of tune that it sounds wrong.
Okay. Yeah.
So
the acceptable sort of parameter.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And that's the. Let me tell you a little bit about the connections. Okay, so it's super light. It's 400 grams. 400 grams. Okay, so our connections. It's a monaural output. There's no pan modulation or anything, but it's a stereo jack. So if you plug in earbuds or headphones, it'll be in both those. Then there's a daisy chain in, so if you want to connect drum machines or another Uno Synth or a modular Moog or whatever you want to run through it, you can.
Does it route through any of the filtering there at all?
No, it's just a pass-through, yes. Right. And this also is for ease of use too, because as I said, we want this to be the synth for everyone.
Yeah. And
we didn't want someone to like plug in their iPhone and go, why does my iPhone sound like it's 100 feet away now?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So then we have MIDI in and out with a soft through.
Okay.
And it's these 2.5 millimeter connections, but we include the cables.
Yeah.
So the 2.5 millimeter to the actual 5-pin connection.
Yeah, like your Duo Pro Duo interface.
Exactly. You got it. And then we have USB, which is for power and for MIDI. And then, of course, it can run on batteries. So 4 AA batteries.
4 AA's the classic lineup.
That's right. And so it will run for about 10 hours.
Oh, wow.
So you could do one day of the Glastonbury Festival without changing the batteries.
Should you wish?
Should you wish?
Yeah,
yes.
of course.
Sure. I changed that by country, by the way. Like when the Americans were here, I said Coachella. So
yeah, of course,
right.
of course. Thank you.
So, and that's the Uno Synth. And Enrico can give you a little sound demo.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Real time.
Thank you, Enrico. Thank you, Eric, for the lovely demo. You've combined wonderfully for to show us this beautiful little synth. Can I ask you price? No, we know price, sorry, apologies. Can I ask you the availability, when we're going to see this in the shops?
This will be in the shops in July.
July, right,
It's
great.
as we said, $199
Yeah.
GBP, including tax.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much.
All right,
thank you.
Cheers.
Be sure to like, subscribe, comment and share wherever you're seeing this video right now. And do check out musicradar.com for all the latest news, reviews and tutorials. And we'll be back with more videos from Superbooth soon, so cheers.